What's up, motivators? Welcome back to Bullfit, where we cut away the fat and get straight to the beef. Geez, man, this is a fitness channel. Maybe you want to calm down a little bit? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought getting angry about this stuff was just how you did it. Alright guys, we have another member requested video. This one goes to Enderil. Thank you for your question on how to go about starting a diet, what a diet is, and why we should diet at all. So today's video is going to be broken down into 3 different parts. What is a diet? Redefining what we've commonly understood to be a diet in today's society. How to diet, an easy to follow method so that you can implement your new diet protocol into your life. And why diet at all?
Your love is rated X. That means you're extraordinary.
So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is what is a diet? And you might think that you know the answer to that right off the bat. But the problem is the colloquial way that we've come to use the word is inaccurate and, well, pretty much the opposite of its intended meaning from the start. You see, the word diet actually comes from Greece, dieta. Is that even how you say that? I've got no idea. It's all Greek to me. And what it means is a way of living. That's pretty counterintuitive to the style of dieting that we've adopted in recent years. A short-term solution for a short-term goal, which usually has long-term consequences. So what should a diet be? Exactly what its name implies. It should be a healthy relationship with food. It should be a way of living. It should be conducive to our goals. It should fuel us. Now you're going to hear a lot of people tell you, why bother dieting at all, when 95% of people who go on a diet not only regain the weight, but gain more weight on top of that. Everybody knows that's true, right? Here's the thing. That number, that 95%, came from a study of only 100 people in 1959. It has just been repeated so often that we accept it as true. Kind of like somatotypes, endomorph, ectomorph, mesomorph. See, that's bullshit too. And if you want to know more about that, you can check out 4 Infuriating Fitness Myths. But we'll talk more about that fallacious 95% at the end of the video. So how do you go about dieting? And how can you have an easy to implement method that covers any style of dieting that you might be trying to get into? Well, we like to keep things simple around here. We also like puns, so I call it bite-sized dieting. You only need to remember 3 things for bite-sized dieting: record, restrict, and replace. It's easy to implement. Doesn't matter if you're doing paleo, keto, high carb, carb cycling, low carb. Fundamentally, implementation is the same across any diet protocol. Why break it down into 3 simple steps? Well, most of us are trying to change a whole lot of things at once when we start dieting. Exercise, sleeping better, scheduling around busy work, maybe we got kids, maybe you have other things on your plate. We change so much, and adding any new dynamic can change everything else. It can force everything else to adapt to it. And unfortunately, diet is simultaneously the most important thing for eliciting a change in your body composition, but the first thing we quit doing when it gets tough. So breaking it down into 3 simple steps can be crucial for those of us trying to successfully implement something new into our daily lives. I start off with record. Just start tracking what you're eating. Your intake is crucially important to your success, so you have to know what you're eating. You don't necessarily have to change what you're putting in your mouth, just keep track of it. Now you can use anything to do this: a pen, paper, whiteboards, just for a couple of days to give you an idea of how much you're intaking. But what I suggest using is one of the free apps that you can get on Android or Apple, carry around on your smartphone, like the MyPlate app. The first step, record, doesn't have to be difficult. It can be as easy as downloading one of those free apps like MyPlate on your Android or your iOS and getting a $4 food scale from Walmart. Just track what you're eating for 3 or 4 days. Get an idea of how much you're intaking. Compare that to what your maintenance calories should be. Now you can figure out your maintenance calories a couple of different ways. The resource that I'd like to suggest to you is Math and Willpower from Alan Roberts at Every Damn Day Fitness. He put an affordable ebook together that will walk you through how to establish what your maintenance calories in and what kind of deficit that you should create in order to achieve weight loss. But if you don't feel like spending a few bucks on your future, you can also use that function in MyPlate or any of the other apps that you can find on your smartphone. I would make one caution though. When describing your lifestyle and selecting your activity level to determine how many calories you should be intaking, it is my hearty suggestion that you pick sedentary. Most of us are, in fact, sedentary. Sedentary? I don't know about that. I work pretty hard. No, you don't. In fact, most of us don't work anywhere near as hard as we think we do. Take me, for instance. I would choose sedentary despite the fact that I work out 5 to 6 times a week. See, my job has me sitting on my butt most of the time. When I'm home, I sit on my butt a lot here, outside of some light cleaning, a little grocery shopping, and extracurricular activities. But we're not really burning a whole lot of calories there. Sedentary was the right choice for me when utilizing one of those apps. And honestly, it's probably the right choice for you too. But at the end of the day, no algorithm is perfect. This is only going to give us a starting point that we're going to have to continually review and evaluate for its effectiveness and make changes from there. It's the only way that this works in the long run. The second step is restrict. Since the vast majority of us are in this for weight loss, we have to create a deficit in our diet. What that means is we take the amount of calories it would take to maintain exactly where we're at, and we subtract a few. Weight loss is calories in versus calories out. That's scientific fact. There's a lot of discussion on it, but this isn't one of the cases where both sides have a valid point. One side is wrong and loud, and the other side is correct and, loud. But it is a scientifically supported fact that when you expend more energy than you intake, you reduce mass. When you intake more energy than you expend, you increase mass. There are innumerable factors that can affect the efficacy of that relationship and that ratio, but at the end of the day, do more, eat less results in weight loss. Eat more, do less results in weight gain. For those of you who have a considerable amount of weight to lose, I sincerely suggest that you work with a professional to determine how much of a deficit that you should create in order for responsible and sustainable weight loss. But if you're looking for a quick ballpark figure to get yourself started, establishing a deficit of 300 to 500 calories is not only achievable, but it's also maintainable, and you'll start to see progress within the first week or two. The third step is replace. Now, what I've noticed with everybody who starts bite-sized dieting is once they start recording what they're eating, they generally start to make better choices as a consequence. It's not necessary to start replacing in the first step, but I notice a lot of people do it. At this stage, what we're trying to do is take a look at the things that we're putting in our body and make better choices with it. Carbohydrates, for instance, are a staple of many forms of diet. However, there are carbohydrates that are better for you than others. Only a complete idiot would try and compare a Twinkie to quinoa or peas to pizza. Food have different nutritional values. They have different nutritional quantities. There are simple carbohydrates. There are complex carbohydrates. Both have their place. There are essential and non-essential proteins. Both of those have their place. There are omega-3 fatty acids and there are omega-6 fatty acids, and both are necessary. It's the quality, the quantity, and the timing of how we intake these things that determines their impact on our bodies. Now, there are a lot of things out there that are going to help you restrict and replace. These apps that you can download, they're all free. They might even make suggestions for you. However, I do want to make one note about calorie trackers. A lot of folks out there love your technology. Your Fitbit, your Garmin, your Apple Watch. All of these things can monitor your heart rate to track the calories that you've burned over any course of activity. But I do want to give you a warning. These devices are incredibly inaccurate and they have a long way to go before they're functionally useful. Just a couple of years ago, Stanford did a study measuring the efficacy of these devices and found that at best they were 27% inaccurate and at worst 93% inaccurate. Meaning your best case scenario, your device could be telling you that you burned 27% more calories than you actually did. Now, if you're eating back those calories burned, as many people do, you're setting yourself up for failure because in the best case scenario, you're overeating by 27%. No wonder people aren't seeing the progress that they expect to when they think they walked 10,000 steps and burned 4,000 calories. So while they're nice, while they look cool, and while it can be motivating to track your number of steps in a day or how many flights of stairs that you've simulated going up, I wouldn't rely on them for much more than that. And now we come back to the why. Why bother dieting at all? I'm sure that there's some people watching this video right now who've made it this far and still believe that 95% of people who try to diet fail. And let's take a look at why that might be. We have a diet culture right now where we have short-term goals and a short-term solution. We engage in these temporary diet protocols so that we can lose a few pounds for a wedding, for a dance, for a reunion, for our summer bod. And that's where we get into a lot of trouble. Even if you manage to achieve your short-term goal and make those changes, we return back to the way that we used to eat. Of course, we're going to gain the weight back that we once maintained at that level of inactivity or activity, and that level of intake. That's science. That never had a chance to work because it was never a permanent change. It wasn't changing your relationship with food. It wasn't reestablishing a new normal. Why else do diets fail? Because we don't rank it as important as it should be. It is the primary reason that we either succeed or fail. But it's the first thing we give up whenever we encounter some sort of obstacle, some sort of difficulty. Too many of us believe that by putting 3 or 4 hours a week into the gym that we can make all the changes that we need to. And we get immediately frustrated over the first 3 or 4 weeks when we don't see the kind of changes in our body that we were expecting. But here's the thing. You can't outwork a bad diet. Well, what do you mean? Michael Phelps eats like 10,000 calories a day and he's ripped. You're not Michael Phelps. In fact, it's likely you're not putting in anywhere near as much work as you think you are in the gym. Psh, not me. I'm there 5 days a week, 2 hours every time. Yeah, you absolutely do. Unfortunately, most of that time is spent in between sets talking to people about how much you used to lift. This here is your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure. See that huge block at the bottom? That's your basal metabolic rate. That's the energy expended just existing, maintaining the mass that you currently have in your bodily functions. You see that tiny sliver all the way at the top? Yeah, that's your exercise activity. If you take a close look at it, you spend more energy processing your food than you do in the gym. So if you think you're going to make all the difference you want to clanging and banging in the gym, you are sorely mistaken. You're going to have to address your level of intake. Trying to get bigger, you need to eat in a surplus. Trying to get smaller, you need to establish a manageable deficit and stick to it. And here's the real kicker. As you start to achieve those goals, you're constantly going to have to reevaluate your new maintenance, deficit, or surplus level. See, when you weigh more, you need to eat more to maintain. When you weigh less, you need to eat less to maintain. You'll see some people in the healthy at any size community try and tell you that you can be metabolically healthy no matter what size you are, and that dieting actually causes metabolic damage. That's not accurate. What actually happens is, as you start to lose weight and you weigh less, your basal metabolic rate goes down because it no longer needs to maintain the same amount of mass. Now, if you're going to have mass, it should be lean mass over fat mass. But even a 350-pound bodybuilder, when he loses weight and cuts down to 250 pounds, he's still using less calories for his basal metabolic rate. He still requires less energy in order to maintain that mass. That's not metabolic damage. That's an adjustment. So don't buy into the hype about metabolic damage in dieting. It's simply not true, and it's being used as an excuse by people who don't want to make a change in their life, and they're seeking to justify that decision. Having a healthy relationship with food isn't about fitting into your tux or your wedding dress. It isn't about looking good at the beach. It can be, those can be side effects. But at the end of the day, it's about your longevity and your quality of life. It is an unfortunate fact that more than 60% of the people in the United States are overweight. That almost 40% of the people in the United States are actively obese, that we are less active and intaking more food than ever. Since 1983, we've increased our caloric intake by over 33%, but we do less every day. Naturally, that means we're going to get bigger. And being consistently overweight has been demonstrated to increase the risk of all causes of mortality, including cancer. Establishing a healthy and maintainable relationship with food shouldn't be about a short-term goal. It should be about having more life to enjoy, having a better quality of life while you enjoy it. All right, guys, that is my quick what, how, and why guide to dieting. Hopefully I answered some of your questions. If you have remaining questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit like. If you want to see more of this content, go ahead and subscribe. As always, we draw our ideas for these videos from our fitness community, Pure Bullfit on Facebook. So if you're looking for daily fitness content, free fitness programs, and community support, come on over and join us. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate your support and your help building this community. We'll see you in that next video. Till then, we're here, just keeping it credible.